Hello, everyone. Welcome to my 4-part series where I go over 4 true crime cases that left a mark on 2025. In today's video, we discuss the case of John O'Keefe, a Boston police officer found dead in a snowbank right outside of the front lawn of another fellow police officer. Before I get into the video, I need to say, please do not send hate to anyone mentioned in this video. The video is made for entertainment purposes only. Warning: this video contains graphic autopsy images that some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. On the night of January 28, 2022, John O'Keefe, a 46-year-old Boston police officer, went out with a group of friends to the Waterfall Bar and Grill in Canton, Massachusetts. The friend group, among others, consisted of John's 44-year-old girlfriend, Karen Reed, fellow police officer Brian Albert, his wife, Nicole Albert, and their daughter, Caitlin Albert, Brian's sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, her husband, Matt McCabe, and a fellow federal agent, Brian Higgins, a close friend of the Alberts. They spent the evening at the bar, drinking and having a good time together. At around midnight, the group decided they would go to Brian Albert's home, located at 34 Fairview Road, for an after-party. John and Karen jumped into Karen's SUV and drove to the Alberts' home. At around 12:15 a.m., they arrived at the Alberts' house. John got out of the car while Karen decided she didn't want to join the after-party. She left John in front of the Alberts' home and went back to his house, where she occasionally stayed. According to Karen, the last she saw that night before heading home was John getting out of the car and walking up to the Alberts' front door. At around 4 o'clock in the morning, Karen woke up and found that John hadn't returned home. In a panic state, she started calling his cell phone 96 times and left 8 voice messages. When she couldn't get hold of him through the phone, she called Carrie Roberts, a longtime friend of John's, and Jennifer McCabe for help. When the two arrived at John's house, Carrie called 911 to report John missing. Karen, Jennifer, and Carrie then jumped into Jennifer's car and went back to 34 Fairview Road, where Karen had last seen John. While approaching the home at around 6 a.m., Karen jumped out of the car and ran straight to a snowbank in front of the Alberts' home. In the snowbank, she found John O'Keefe, unresponsive, lying in the snowbank near the flagpole on the Alberts' front lawn. When the women found John, he was wearing a t-shirt, jeans, and a hoodie, and had blood all over his face and clothes. Interestingly, even though it was freezing outside and blizzard-like conditions, with temperatures as low as 20 degrees Fahrenheit, John was missing a winter coat and had only one shoe on. Karen started giving John CPR immediately while Jennifer called 911. First responders arrived quickly at the scene. According to one of them, Katie McLaughlin, Karen was frantic when they arrived and was repeating the words, "I hit him, I hit him." When a nearby officer, not sure he had heard correctly, turned to Karen and asked, "You did what?" She replied, "I hit him, one more time." John's body was transported to the local hospital, but after an hour and a half, at around 7:29 a.m., John O'Keefe was declared dead. John had many injuries to his body. He had multiple skull fractures and a large cut on the back of his head. He also had a black eye and small cuts on his face. On his right arm, examiners found multiple wounds that ranged in size and small abrasions on the outside of his right knee. The official cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head and hypothermia. The manner of death, however, could not be determined, meaning that the medical examiner was unable to say exactly how John got the injuries he had on his body, nor what could have caused them. Now that we have established what happened leading up to the discovery of John's body, let's get into the theories of what could have happened to him. The first theory is that Karen Reed killed John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe and Karen Reed first met in 2004 and dated briefly. They rekindled their relationship in 2020 after connecting over Facebook during the COVID-19 pandemic and at the time of John's death, had been in a relationship for almost 2 years. According to friends and family members, their relationship started out okay, but soon became fractured. John and Karen would often have fights, in person and over the phone. There were problems with jealousy and accusations of infidelity on both sides. When Karen woke up on January 29th at around 4 a.m., she tried calling John's phone 96 times and left him 8 voice messages. In some of these voice messages, a distressed Karen can be heard saying, "John, I effing hate you. John, I'm here with your effing kids. Nobody knows where the F you are. You effing pervert," followed with, "John, I am going home. I need to go home. You are effing using me right now. You are effing another girl. You are a effing loser. F yourself." Near John's deceased body, police found pieces of red and clear taillight, and Karen's SUV had the right rear taillight missing. Law enforcement believed that after John got out of the car in front of the Alberts home, Karen hit John with her SUV and left him to die in the snow. GPS from John's phone never puts him inside the house, only in front of the house, and those who attended the after-party said that John never entered the Alberts residence, which may indicate Karen did in fact strike him with her car and leave him to die. Also incriminating is Karen's behavior when she, Jennifer McCabe, and Carrie Roberts first found John lying in the snow. According to Jennifer, when they approached the Alberts home, Karen started saying, "There he is, there he is." When they got out of the car, she was screaming, "Is he dead? Is he dead? Could I have hit him? Did I hit him?" After completing an autopsy of John's body, the state medical examiner, Dr. Irini Scordi-Bello, said all the injuries found on his body were determined to be caused by a car. This includes the head injuries and the multiple scratches to his right arm. 2 days after John's body was discovered, Karen Reed was arrested and charged with second-degree murder for the death of John O'Keefe. Karen Reed's first trial was held on the 16th of April 2024. She was charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter while under the influence, leaving the scene of an accident, and operating a vehicle under the influence. Fortunately for Karen, the jury was deadlocked and the trial ended up in a mistrial. Her second trial began a year later on April 1st, 2025. This trial lasted 2.5 months, and this time the jury was able to come to a joint decision. Karen Reed was found not guilty of second-degree murder, manslaughter while under the influence, and leaving the scene of an accident, and only guilty for operating a vehicle under the influence. She was sentenced to 1 year of probation. Now a question naturally follows this verdict. If Karen Reed didn't cause John to lose his life, then who or what did? This brings us to the second theory, which is that John O'Keefe was killed inside the Alberts home after an altercation occurred during the after-party, and that the police covered up for the Alberts. Let's first establish who was at 34 Fairview Road on the night of January 28, 2022. Inside the house were the homeowners Brian and Nicole Albert, their daughter Caitlin Albert, Brian Higgins, Jennifer McCabe, her husband Matt McCabe, and Colin Albert, Brian's nephew. During the trial, Karen Reed's defense argued that Brian Higgins had a romantic interest in Karen, and that when John O'Keefe arrived at the house, a physical altercation broke out, with John on one side and Brian Higgins and Brian Albert on the other. According to the defense, it was during this confrontation that John ultimately lost his life. Between January 16th and January 29th, 2022, Karen and Brian exchanged a series of flirtatious messages. Some of their interactions included: Karen, "You're hot." Brian, "Are you serious or messing with me?" Karen, "No, I'm serious." Brian, "Feeling is mutual. Is that bad? How long have you thought that?" Followed by, Karen, do you like me? Brian, yes, from jump. Karen, when was jump? Brian, first time I saw you. Karen, when was that? Brian, Hillside for sure. When were you interested? Karen, I don't know. You're just my type. According to the defense's theory, once Higgins and Albert realized that John was dead, they did not call the police. Instead, they allegedly carried John's body outside through the basement door and placed him on the front lawn near the flagpole. This would explain why nobody inside the house saw John laying in the snow, nor entering the house. Karen Reed's defense also implicated that Brian Albert's nephew, Colin Albert, may have been involved. Colin Albert allegedly came to the house that night because Caitlin Albert was celebrating her birthday, and Colin wanted to congratulate her. The defense claimed this because a month after John O'Keefe died, Colin was seen with bruises on his knuckles, indicating he may have been in a fight. If you remember, John also had several injuries on his right arm. During the trial, the defense called Dr. Marie Russell, a forensic pathologist, to testify. According to Dr. Russell, the wounds on John's arm appeared to be a mix of scratches and punctures that were consistent with an animal attack, specifically one from a large dog. Suspiciously, the Alberts owned a German Shepherd mix named Chloe, a dog with a known history of aggression toward strangers. Chloe was rehomed only 4 months after John's death. It is believed that she may have bitten John while he was unconscious inside the Alberts' house. Another puzzle in this case is why did Jennifer McCabe Google "how long to die in the cold"? Jennifer and her husband Matt were at the after party, but didn't stay long. According to Jennifer, she and her husband spent a short time in the Alberts' home and left for their home and went to sleep. Jennifer claims she was woken up at 5 a.m. by a call from Karen, and that is when she went to John's house. Jennifer said she Googled the phrase "how long to die in the cold" at 6:24 a.m. after John's body was discovered, and at the request of Karen Reed. But the defense claimed she Googled this phrase at 2:27 a.m., about 3.5 hours before John's body was found. One of Karen Reed's defense attorneys contacted the sanitation department and learned that a plow had been operating that night. He then tracked down the plow driver, Brian Lauren. Lauren passed the Alberts residence at around 2:45 a.m. with his headlights on. When the defense asked him what he saw on the front lawn of 34 Fairview Road, near the flagpole, he stated, quote, "I saw nothing," end quote. The way police collected the taillight pieces found in the snow is also questionable. To remove the snow covering the taillight fragments, they used a leaf blower. By doing so, it's possible that crucial evidence was moved or destroyed. The taillight pieces were collected in red Solo cups borrowed from a neighbor's house. This method of collecting evidence was improper and not in line with official protocol. One more problem for the prosecutor was the fact that the police didn't interview the people who spent the night at the Alberts' home for quite some time, even though John had died in their front lawn. This may have been caused by the fact that the lead investigator in this case was Michael Proctor, a close friend of the Alberts. While searching through Karen's phone for evidence of what happened the night John O'Keefe died, Proctor used his private phone to write some appalling text messages to his bosses. In these text messages, he wrote, "No nudes so far." Proctor also indicated through a series of texts that he is in close alliance with law enforcement and is clearly biased against Karen Reed, and willing to cover for fellow law enforcement officers. Someone wrote to him, "I'm sure the owner of that house will receive some." He replied, "Nope, homeowner is a Boston cop too." Someone then wrote to investigator Proctor, "Oh, she's skating." He then replies, "Zero chance she skated. She's fucked." All of this, according to Karen Reed's defense, showed that only 17 hours after the investigation began, Trooper Proctor had already decided to pin the crime on Karen Reed. They argue that from that point on, the investigation was steered toward proving that conclusion rather than questioning it. At this moment, it remains unknown whether any additional suspects will ever be charged in the death of John O'Keefe. But one thing is certain. We still don't know what truly happened to John O'Keefe, nor how he ended up lying in a snowbank on the Alberts' front lawn. Was he actually hit by Karen Reed's SUV and left to die? Or did something more sinister happen inside 34 Fairview Road? Something that set off a chain of events no one has fully admitted to. Until someone finally tells the whole story, all we have are theories, silence, and a mystery that refuses to settle. That's all for now, guys. Thank you for watching. I am very curious to know what you think actually happened to John O'Keefe. Do you think Karen Reed struck him with her car? And if so, do you think it was intentional or an accident? Do you think he was killed inside the Alberts' home and this whole case was just a police cover-up? Please let me know down in the comments section. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, bye.